Meeting called to order.
Chair.
Time is now 4 p.m. Roll call, Madam Chair.
Chair Joseph Anderson.
Present.
Vice Chair Blair Stickland.
Here.
Secretary Treasurer Jean Enright is not present. Commissioner William Richards.
Here.
Commissioner Catherine Waldron. Here. Executive Director Emmanuel Almira.
I'm here.
Board Counsel Greg Pippin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Commissioner Waldron.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda?
Mr. Chair, we do not.
Okay. Any from my board? All right. We will have an approval of the agenda. It's been properly moved in second. All in favor say aye. All opposed likewise. It carries unanimously with one commissioner absent. All right, can we have the approval of the minutes? It's been properly moved and seconded. Are there any unreadness? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. I mean, it's not hard to speak. Say aye. All opposed? All right. Motion carries. Okay. Do we have any presentations and announcements?
We do. Commissioners, very happy to announce that we had two executives from a company called Ozinga Company that is based out of Chicago. They're here to make a brief presentation on their efforts to establish a business at the Port of Palm Beach. With us are Greg Vandler, he's the Vice President of Strategic Development, and Mark Jansen. I'm sure both gents are happy to be here since when they left Chicago it was 16 degrees and it's partly cloudy and the highest is going to be is 40. So they don't want to go back. With that, what I'd like to do is bring up Greg and he can make a presentation. Incidentally, each of your folders has a presentation printed. So Greg, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As Director Manuel Almira just said, we'd love to find some other work to do down here to help you. Maybe we need to move some boxes or make some dust for you or anything to stay warmer. But thanks for the opportunity to be here. Again, my name is Greg Vanderbilt. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Development for Florida, Sunstar Logistics, and Ozinga. I have a brief presentation for you, as Manuel had mentioned. And it's our privilege to be able to do that. So thank you for the time. I'm going to try and walk through the slides that are here and just give you a brief introduction. Initially, first, Florida Sunstar Logistics is a subsidiary of Ozinga. We're a fourth generation family that's owned American company founded in 1928, and we're celebrating 93 years in business this year. Most of our products and services serve the greater Midwest and South Florida markets. We have over 2,000 employees and have invested over $100 million in capital over the last 3 years. We also are experienced in international sourcing and distribution of bulk raw materials and cement. In 2017, we started a ready-mix concrete division in South Florida, serving Broward and Miami-Dade counties. And today we employ approximately 125 employees down in South Florida here. We work hard to lead by our purpose, and it's something that I want to share with you, that we want to make a positive impact on individuals, their families, and communities for generations. This is something that our ownership has been talking about for quite a while, and it's something that we live by and take very seriously. We've been working with Director O'Mara and the port staff for some time now and are seeking your support for a long-term 20-plus year agreement for bulk storage and distribution. What you see here may be a little difficult to see from where you're at, so hopefully you have the presentation in front of you. But this slide provides an elevation view of the project and the location within the port. It's centrally located and just west of Broadway Boulevard. It's approximately 3.3 acres. The main facility will be a 50,000 tons single storage structure. You would have 2 loadout silos for distribution, a mobile ship unloader, personnel office for staff and drivers, and future rail service. The conveying system from the dock to the loadout will be completely enclosed. Here, unfortunately, there are some height restrictions on the proposed site. The current interlocal agreement notes that zoning and permitting rests with the City of Riviera Beach. However, site plan approval is granted by the port and by you folks. That being said, we are working and have had several meetings, good productive meetings with the City of Riviera Beach to address the height restrictions. Pending your support and approval of a negotiated term sheet and site plan, we plan to submit additional drawings and applications to the city to address the height. These renderings that you see here just illustrate what the structure would look like and how it can really complement the area along Broadway for both the port and the city itself. In terms of investment, we estimate that this investment would be approximately $27 million. We anticipate approximately 100 short-term construction jobs, 110 full-time direct and indirect jobs, and local jobs will be made up of management, operators, maintenance, deckhands, truck drivers. We're committed to recruiting and developing local talent. This is something that we do in all of our businesses. In 2017, we hired folks for ReadyMix down in Broward and Miami-Dade from local communities through local job boards and job fairs. We also value diversity in the workplace and feel that it strengthens our workforce. At Ozinga, we have a rich history of being involved in the community. We do this through charitable contributions, face-to-face engagements that can build us all up and have an impact on those around us. In summary, we feel that this is a great opportunity to bring economic growth and good-paying jobs to the port and Riviera Beach, while at the same time supporting local construction demands and keeping construction costs to a minimum. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and we value your support and the partnership that we're trying to form. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Canfield. Any questions from the board?
I have a question. It's great that you guys are employing so many people locally. I applaud that. And I was just wondering, in terms, do you offer or do you require any training for those jobs? Or?
There is some training. There are a few labor type jobs, but most of them require some training. And typically what we like to do in a lot of our operations is we want to hire them early and develop them and have them take ownership of the facility the same way that they would other jobs. So we would want to be doing that early on and train them as well.
And before Commissioner Stickland is recognized, I just want to let the record show that our Secretary Treasurer, Commissioner Dr. Jean Enright, has arrived at 4:05 p.m.
Could you tell me, have you had meetings with the city? I know a couple months ago, a couple of the gentlemen that came in, and I think our chair said that, be in touch with him to make sure things go smoothly. And I'm just curious, on preliminary, are things looking pretty good? Or do you need for us to, do anything at this time, or just, let you guys do your thing, and then if you need some help, we'll be glad to do it.
Well, thank you for asking. We would always value your support. But we have had very good engagement with the city, with each of the council members. It's been very productive and supportive all along the way, including city staff. So as we continue to progress and both share this here at this board and with various council members, it's all been very positive and productive.
Great. And Manny, what kind of revenue are we looking at over the next few years?
Not enough.
Never enough.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to $1 million, somewhere in there.
All right.
Negotiate that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner?
I missed it. What will be in the structure itself?
I'm sorry?
What will be in the structure?
And the structure will be dry bulk material, which will be cement. Cement products, yep.
And normal height, I was able to see the height with my glasses on.
Currently, there's we would be just at about 150 feet in total height.
Okay. And the width is a little more than the height, correct?
I'm sorry?
How about the width?
Yeah, we would not exceed that 150 from any part of the structure.
All right, thank you.
All right, and just one of the last questions, everything goes smoothly. What is the ETA as far as breaking ground or anything of that nature?
Well, for us, we would love to do it yesterday. So as quickly as we can move through the process and gain support from both the city and from the folks here, we would be looking at sometime after we do drawings and procure materials and so forth, sometime in late 2022.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chair, and for the rest of the commissioners, they are also anticipating the use of our train, to distribute their product. So that's an added bonus to this project. So I know the Port staff is extremely excited about it.
Any additional questions or concerns from the board? All right, thank you, Mr. Benton.
Okay, thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate your help.
All right.
Thank you.
Down to consent agenda. I entertain a motion.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. There being any unread? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. All right, down to director's reports. Executive director's report.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. I'll start with good news. The Port Palm Beach received our annual review and have maintained from Moody's, have maintained our Baa2 stable credit rating. Moody's bases decision on a strong liquidity and financial performance. Our culture strength, this is what they point out, is our multi-year contracts with large tenants with minimum annual revenue, guarantees, sound fiscal managing margins, and strong liquidity. Also, capital investment that is forecast to be nearly all cash and grant funded. Plus, the fact that we have the ability to levy property taxes up to $200,000 annually for operating expense. So, not many ports, given the pandemic, can say that we're doing just fine. Commissioners, a week ago, several members of Port staff and I visited Port Canaveral to inspect the loading bridge that has been used in their terminal for Disney Cruise Lines. We have checked the viability of transporting this bridge down to us. We would like to continue negotiating with both the Port Authority and the transportation company with the goal of installing this bridge in our terminal. Incidentally, more information will be provided to you under J3, under new business. Update on the cruise industry in a macro perspective, and I'll talk a little bit more about Baja and Paradise Cruise Line. But in the U.S., there is still no cruise activity. But throughout this chaos, the cruise industry somehow has survived. With that, they are now beginning the process of getting back to business as usual. The assumption of cruising for these lines depend on the following, of course. The hope is that all ships operating by the end of this year, but is largely depending on the CDC testing and distribution of vaccines. For the U.S. market, timing of test cruises is to be determined as they need CDC to confirm some specific information. In other words, to begin these test sailings, they need to ensure that all CDC guidelines are being adhered to. Therefore, further test sailings are unknown at this time. Prior to this meeting, I had an opportunity to speak with O'Neill. He assured me that they continue to talk with CDC and that they feel that they have reached a level of very, very optimistic. CDC is mentioning to them that with the fact of having people or having this vaccine being distributed, that can only be good in speeding up the process of getting the cruise industry back on its feet. Incidentally, folks, we are in negotiations with them, and by this Tuesday, the hope is that we will be able to finish our new negotiations and new numbers. So within a week, we'll may be reporting some real good activity regarding Bahama Paradise Cruise Line. And as I said last week, we sent a proposal to Bahama Paradise Cruise Line, and we're continuing to negotiate some of the terms. The picture you're about to see is somewhat sad. This is the grand celebration. As you know, they sold it, and that picture was taken somewhere in India. They're about to chop it and use it for scrap. Very sad, but they still have the other one. Next, Commissioners, is the memorial flag. This month, Director of Business Development Michael Meekins discovered a memorial flag display case in our boathouse on Peanut Island. The flag shadow box has the name of Army Colonel Robert Gilroy and was likely delivered to his family at the time of his burial. Michael and Yaremi worked together to track down the living relatives of this deceased Army Colonel, who was buried in Bennington, Vermont in 1993. After numerous calls to different organizations, we found the Colonel's niece living in Clearwater, Florida. She does not know how the flag ended up in our boathouse. However, we plan to mail it to her as a memory of her uncle. You see the picture? There's been a change in the scheduling of meetings. The spring conference continues to be planned for March. However, the Board of Course Council has said the spring board meeting will not be virtual. There's just too many who refuse to go up there and have one-on-one, basically. So any other conferences that you see here as of this Friday, they're still scheduled. So if you have any questions, please, assist. If not, my presentation is complete.
Any questions from the board?
Just a statement. I noticed you made the top 100 in the magazine, top 100 leaders in the county, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to Port Engineers report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As you can guess, it's a really exciting time to be a port engineer. We've got a lot going on. It's going to be a really busy year. It's going to be fun to be here. First thing I want to let you update you on is channel shielding. As you know, that's always our problem. As port engineer, I'll be making a presentation before the February technical conference of the Florida Shores and Beaches Preservation Association. The subject matter of the morning session will be shoaling and beach management in the Palm Beach area. And I'll be making a presentation during that time. The presentation in part will be directed to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers folks who handle budget and funding. And that will be important to make sure that we have the funding we need. The presentation will highlight the economic impact of draft restrictions and shoaling in the Port of Palm Beach Entrance Channel. It'll be a very respectful presentation to the members of the Florida Beach community and the funding leaders of the Corps of Engineers, and it will hopefully guarantee future funding in this fiscal year to provide for long-term resolution of channel shoaling. A key component of my presentation will be looking to make sure that we get a full emptying of the settling basin at the next cycle of dredging, which you know is important to give us a long-term solution to our problem. I think y'all realize that one cold front can start moving that shoal back into our channel again and cause problems. Next item I'll just update you on, you'll see a couple board items on is the annex property improvements. We'll be coming to you in a few minutes on the award of the contract for the annex property improvements, which will provide improvements that will make this facility even more valuable and safe for proper operations. It will provide water lines for fire service, electric service, lighting, infrastructure for perimeter security, and landscaping to help shield the adjacent property from port operations. We're also working on Berth 1 shore power. The shore power installation will be completed soon. We've had some COVID-caused delays of equipment. We're already working with the operators of Berth 1 to make the shore power even more valuable to the tenant to help attract new business, which in part may include additional shore power to be added based on some new layouts and design by the operators of Berth 1 Palm Beach. The PIDP grant funding is going to get into play this year. With the anticipation availability of our funds for mid-year, we will be bringing a consultant selection process to the board soon in future months to provide for design services for that exciting project. As I've stated in the past updates, this project will be the benchmark development to bring Port Palm Beach into the year 2030 and beyond. This is very important to us. This is strategic planning in action. Also want to update you on the FPL intake tunnel repairs. Port staff continues to work with FPL engineers on the modification repairs of the FPL intake tunnel. The port attorneys are working on language changes to the proposed temporary work easement to accommodate FPL and our port operations in a workable manner. We'll most likely bring that completed temporary easement to the board at the February meeting. That's the end of my report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, thank you. Next, we have governmental affairs report.
Mr. Chairman, congratulations. Commissioner Richard Pinsky. A brief report, the local bill proposed legislation that you approved at your last meeting was taken to the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation on January 7th. There was some discussion. It was voted unanimously to introduce the bill, and we anticipate having Representative Matt Wilhite as the prime sponsor and our new Republican freshman from Martin County and the north end of the county, Representative John Snyder, as our prime co-sponsor. And there was some discussion worth noting about putting a cap on the salary portion. I endeavored to explain that we're not asking for a salary increase, so the need for a cap is really not needed. All we're looking for is making it clear in our charter that should there ever be the need to increase, it would be up to a vote of the commission. Currently, we have to go to Tallahassee. I also pointed out that we are the only port, whether it's county-owned, city-owned, or what we call an independent port like us in Fernandina and Canaveral. We're the only one that has to go to Tallahassee. The other ports are able to govern themselves. Nonetheless, it was voted on. I did want to bring it to your attention. I don't anticipate any issues when we get to Tallahassee, but should there be, then I think we'll address it at that time. The other issue, there are some bills that have been filed, and at the end of next week, I'll be sending out my first sort of update on all the bills being filed that are impacting ports in general, and anything that may be impacting our port. There is a bill known as a preemption bill that would have the state of Florida, the legislature, ensure that no local government could pass any type of law, ordinance, referendum that would restrict the commerce activity of a port. This was generated out of the referendum last year by the port in Key West, where the voters, for whatever reason, determined they did not want the volume of cruise passengers that are currently disembarking in Key West or embarking. And so as a result, the cruise industry in particular, or in conjunction with the pilots, who I'm sure have lost some revenue, have gotten Representative Schoaf and Senator Jim Boyd to introduce a preemption that would actually make it retroactive for Key West, but would prevent anything like that happening in any other port. You could well imagine what would happen if we could not control our own, although it's not clear about a special district, and I want to make sure I underscore that. It addresses cities and counties, and so I have not voiced a position of the port because it may not even impact us per se. However, it is a preemption, and it could be interpreted that should the local, whether the Port of Palm Beach, we decide what we want to do and don't want to do, someone could say, you don't have any right to do that. You're interfering with commerce and would prevent us from doing it. So the Florida Ports Council has taken a position officially in opposition to the bill. The director, Amira, had a phone call earlier in the week with the Ports Council, and they, as a body, their board voted to oppose it. We had another call yesterday with the lobbying team of all the ports, and it was explained to us that it is a position of opposition, although it's a work in progress. There could be some opportunity for compromising or backing off in some way. But I did want to bring that one to your attention because it is getting some publicity. There are other bills, there's other things going on, but like I said, we're waiting until the end of next week when the bill drafting deadline is done, and then I'll have another actual bill report. Our bill should get a bill number as early as Monday. It was advertised on December 23rd, making it eligible to get a bill number introduced by January 23rd. So by Monday, we would anticipate getting an actual bill number, which will distribute as well. I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any questions from the board? Commissioner Van Dyke? Excuse me, Commissioner Walker?
So this bill is only one to 2 committees, right? Which is better than last year. Is that correct? I've heard it's going to less committees, the bill.
Do you mind pulling your mask down just a second?
Is the bill that you mentioned with regard to our salary or whatever?
Our local bill?
Yes. Is that going to just 2 committees, right? It's only going to 2 committees. Last year it went to more, and we anticipate to be.
Your lips to God's ears. We don't know where the reference will be yet because we don't have a bill number. So as soon as we get the bill number, then immediately following, it will get references. It will go to the local and federal affairs committee, and Representative Jackie Toledo is the chair. I have no reason to believe that she would do anything. Still the same staff director, but we have a few other things that we are planning, despite how many references. But we don't anticipate getting multiple references that would slow the bill down. We've also been in discussion with Senator Bobby Powell's office about introducing an identical bill in the Senate. We don't have to do that. That's not how local bills are handled, but at least we want to be ensured of a bill hearing and a bill moving on the Senate before we put all of our eggs in the House bill, although I don't anticipate any problem.
Thank you.
I just have one question. Should we have a backup plan if they're a little hesitant with the verbiage concerning the language of the raise?
Yes, backup plans are good, but at the same time, Mr. Chair, we should wait until we need a backup plan. Again, while the discussion ensued, I think we have a great argument to be made that we are the only port out of 14 or 15, depending what day of the week it is, deep water ports in Florida. We're the only port that has to go to Tallahassee. I don't care if it's Key West, Everglades, Miami, Fernandina. Nobody else has to go to the legislature to adjust their charter the way we do for salary.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. President. All right.
What H4?
H4 Commissioner's reports.
You knew I was going to say something. I just wanted to ask Andy, I don't like to micromanage his authority, but when we got the agenda here, to me, it seemed like there was a bunch of items that should have been in consent. I don't understand why you would put them under old business, under new business. It's just, is there some reason why some of these items to just didn't go into consent, or?
Well, normally we would attempt to put as much as we can on consent. In speaking with Commissioner Anderson, the chair, it was his decision to go ahead for further explanations.
All right, well, we can always pull things, that go into consent. Just pull them and talk about them.
Correct.
But that's just how we.
And just to your point, the only item that was removed from the consent agenda was the contract renewals, which was I-4. That was the only one.
How about J6? Isn't that something that could just pass? I mean, we're all in favor of something like that. I don't know what we would talk about. But that's just,
Well noted.
Okay. No problem.
Commissioner Enright, you recognize.
I understand what Commissioner Sickles is saying, because normally the non-enrollment is such a little contract. It's not like we're looking at other companies and it's so expensive. We normally just would have that under consent, but it's okay. And I understand this comment too, because I don't think that anyone here wants to be against number I-6.
I think we do too.
Yeah.
Day 2.
Yeah. If Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner.
It's okay.
I would, first one, I would say to give everybody some space here.
Okay,
And
that's
maybe
fine.
when we get to the item, Mr. Chair, after the discussion, the commission might say, hey, next time this kind of item we can put on consent. And let's give you some breaks, a little room.
And that's what I struggle with, because when you look at what the consent item, consent agenda should entail, and I think we've had this dialogue before, it should be, things that are reoccurring, customary, and things of that nature. So when you start to look at because I was looking at I-4, and then you look at also with the J2, those are both almost in the same boat.
1, 2, and 4.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner,
if you prefer to do it that way, it's okay with you, because it should only just take a second to say, approve, yay, and vote.
But keep in mind, our last conversation when we had about contracts.
Yes,
Yes. And so that was my rationale.
I understand.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. I-1.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I-4, contract renewals? Correct.
We're in the old business.
Old business.
Old business.
Commissioner, we'll make this easy on you. The first 3 items here are all related to the annex property. Item I-1 is request for approval of the work order to Kinley Horn for construction services during the performance of the work in the amount of $38,255. So I don't repeat myself, all 3 of these are all part of the 50/50 FDOT grant. So the first item is a request for approval of the Kinley Horn work order in the amount of $38,255.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any questions? All in favor say aye. All opposed likewise. Motion carries unanimously.
Commissioners, item I-2, same contract, overall work, still part of the grant. This is a request for approval of the EC Fennell work order in the amount of $11,045. This is for their services on the electrical and lighting on that project.
So moved.
Second.
And probably move to second. Is there any unreadiness? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item I-3 is a request for approval or award of a contract to Mark J. Parent Company, DBA PB Builders, in the amount of $788,833. This is a Lake Worth-based company, probably the closest one to the court that actually did this project, and we're requesting approval of that award. It's also 50/50 of grant funding.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Enright?
I know they are the lowest bidders, but what about the kind of work they do? Are they I know they're qualified too, but all the time the Lord's Spirit is not the best company to deal with, like, you all had a chance to go through this company and what other projects they've done.
Commissioner, you're a little bit inaudible.
What other projects they've done.
I talked to this company, they're very familiar with this kind of work. They are a general contractor, they're going to be doing a lot of this work themselves. I also interviewed them with respect to the difference in price between them and the second bidder. And they say that their familiarity with the work is what allows them to do that cheaper. So this is, in my opinion, a very qualified contractor to perform this work, and I think this should go off without any problems at all.
I guess I asked the question because the amounts are drastic. I mean, there's quite a difference in the amounts, so I was just wondering about the quality of work.
I apologize that I can't understand everything you're saying.
I said the amounts were drastic. That's why I was concerned about the quality of work that the company would provide.
This company had good references for many projects that they've done recently.
Okay.
So I feel very comfortable with them on this project.
Okay. It was just that the money was just so far apart. And, sometimes you wonder. So, okay.
Commissioner Walden?
Yeah, just to add to what Commissioner Enright said, because I noticed the item, proposal for A and B, basically demolition. That was what struck me as so much lower than everybody else's by quite a bit. So I was wondering why that was. 5,000 versus 164 or 70 or 118 or 113. It seems like a big difference.
Mold and demo or the demolition. Those items would be, honest with you, there's not a lot of demolition on this job.
Then I guess
It's just
I'm
no-
kind of curious if these
No
other
real
guys
demolition, a
are.
few fences to come out.
So that's a little curious that the others put so much money into that section. So
The difference with the water main and hydrants, that's where all the money, the difference in the values came from that section. Number D, that was where all the money. Yeah, good.
well, that was between the first and second. But if you look at the first line, 5,000 versus all the others, which were so much
Oh,
more.
yeah. Yeah, that's another one.
And I think she's speaking to mobilization and demo as well.
That first item is mobilization and demobilization. The second line item is demolition. And some contractors front end load that item, some contractors don't. Again, I checked out the company and I felt comfortable with them. And the way we've been talking, they seem to be like they're going to be a contractor that's very comfortable to work with. And they're very happy with their price.
I'll make a motion to die $788,833.
Second that.
It's been properly moved in first and second, motion and second. Is there any additional questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, likewise. Motion carries unanimously. Under new business, now you have to run J1.
I-4.
What about the
On
contract?
the old business,
We're on the old business.
I-4, sorry about that, contract renewals.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Well,
Second.
okay, it's been properly moved. Second, I just had one other question here. I noticed that this didn't go out for renewal, or it didn't go out for RFP, or,
Are you talking for ID software or?
I know, for the Nozzle, just for example.
Nozzle is such a nominal cost at $400 a month that, if we bring in another company, you're actually going to have a startup cost with bait traps and the pest control. So we thought, trying to keep expenses flat for this year, that we would just extend it for another 12 months.
Oh, okay, so we'll eventually go back out, or just for any solicitations and see if there's part of the board?
Eventually, yes.
Okay, all right, it's been properly moved in second, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, likewise. Motion carries unanimously. Now we're in the new business, J1.
I can't talk through that, so I apologize. New business is the Sunshine Biofuels receivable write-off. The port signed an agreement with Sunshine Biofuels in September of 2019. They started operation at the port in October of 19. It was for a 1-year agreement. They used less than a half acre, and they were to be sending out biofuels. They had a contract that said it was 1 year and minimum shipments had to be met, and if they did meet it, then we would offer them a longer term agreement. It was a trial period. The first year they were to ship out 2 million barrels of fuel oil, 2 million gallons, I'm sorry, 2 million gallons of fuel oil, and if they did that, they met our criteria, and we would then entertain a longer term agreement. In the first 4.5 months, they shipped out 600,000, ramping up. In fact, the last month before they were negatively impacted, they shipped 200,000. So they were well on their way to meeting, if not exceeding, their first year requirement. However, in February, at the end of February, a major customer that took their fuel wanted to modify their facility so as they could take more. So they stopped taking shipments while they were refurbishing their facility. Our customer came to us, our tenant, and asked if they could have a moratorium on making payments until that facility was done and they would catch up. We agreed to hold their payments off for no more than 90 days, no later than February, at which point we would expect the payment back. We did charge a normal interest, etc., but it was simply an accommodation that their customer could not take it. Unfortunately, COVID-19 hit. Oil prices fell through the floor. The need for biofuel fell through the floor. Not knowing how long this was going to last, we continued to wait, hoping that oil prices would ratchet back up and this customer could possibly start shipping again. Well, we both know what happened. It's still here. Oil prices are still at an all-time low. Biofuel industry as a whole is suffering. Eventually, it sapped our customer of all of his finances, and we terminated the agreement. He owed us $118,000. At the end of fiscal 2020, as I do every year, I took a look at the possible bad debts, items that we would not be able to collect, and we reserved for them. This is to avoid dragging the problems into the coming year. At the end of fiscal 2020, we established a reserve for uncollectible amounts of $475,000. Of the $475,000, roughly $50,000 is our normal amount. We normally carry that for incidentals during the year. However, at the end of 2020, we're talking about September, we had two things facing us. This and one of our largest customers, whether or not we would ever collect. So we established a reserve of $475,000. That reserve is sitting on our books. With your permission to write this off, it will not impact 2021 at all, since the financial impact already happened last year, and we could start out with a clean slate. The reserve was set up for about $120,000 for this company, roughly $300,000 for the other tenant who is currently making payments, and a $50,000 normal. If during the course of the year the other tenant continues to make payments and the reserve isn't needed, we can reverse that into this year's profits. With your permission to write off the $118,000.
Any questions, Commissioner Sickley?
Yes, could you tell me how much they actually paid us during their contract, how long they were there?
I would be guessing with somewhere about $50,000 to $70,000.
That's all they paid us?
They were only in business for 4 months, and basically there was a land lease, and they were paying us per gallon shipped, and they were ramping up.
Okay. And are they in bankruptcy, or are they just?
Basically in bankruptcy.
Oh, okay.
Discussed it with them, we sent a letter to them terminating the agreement, once we realized chasing them was chasing a rabbit.
Yep, that makes sense.
I will move approval. It's been properly moved in second. Any additional questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, likewise. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very
I
much.
just have one question I just wanted to ask you. So this company they just closed down shop.
Closed down completely. They removed everything from our port, and working with our attorney, we sent them out a termination letter, officially terminating the business. And actually, that parcel is back on the market for lease. We're ready to have that.
Okay.
All right, moving along, J2.
J2 is our all cost services. Based upon the board's current condition, we have a pickup once a week. We had some difficulty, because it is only once a week, we ran into difficulty with one of our providers, whether they would show or not. So we put it out to bid. We spoke to Brinks, Grotto World, and we wound up with Loomis. It's going to be $129 a month, picking up once a week.
So moved.
Second.
All right, then properly moved in second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
J3.
Commissioners, this item is related to the information the executive director gave you on a passenger loading bridge that is available. 3 of the staff members did meet and look at this passenger loading bridge, which is in extremely good condition. What we're requesting for in this motion is to authorize approval of the executive director to enter in negotiations with Port Canaveral for the purchase of the passenger loading bridge. We'll also authorize the port engineer to negotiate a work order with E.C. Fennell, who you might remember had the original passenger loading bridge work order, to design the terminal modifications that are necessary, the hurricane tie downs, and the foundation for this structure, if we purchase it. And then to authorize the port engineer to issue an RFP for disassembly, shipping, and reassembly of the passenger loading bridge from Port Canaveral, moving it and installing it here in Port Palm Beach. And to authorize the port engineer to issue an RFP for the removal and disposal of the existing passenger loading bridge and gangway system. Of course, we would not remove that until the new passenger loading bridge was ready to pull up to the ship.
Question?
Commissioner Sigmund?
Yeah, can you assure me that we're not going to spend any money whatsoever until we actually negotiate something? I don't want to start having engineering costs, and because my gut feeling tells me, first of all, we don't even know if we're going to have a ship to use the loading bridge. Hopefully we will, but who knows when that will be. So I remember the last time we looked at a loading bridge, it was like $300,000 or $400,000 just to get it up here by barge. So I'm not real encouraged, but then again, as long as it's not cost us any money, let's negotiate and see what, maybe Port Canaveral wants to get rid of it and just basically give it to us. So I'm not against, negotiating, as long as we're not spending any money this time.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I can answer Commissioner Sigmund's concern. We will not get into any kind of contract without bringing it back to the board. This is one. Secondly, getting rates or getting costs is pulling teeth. For whatever reason, everybody keeps pointing at somebody else. That's why it's causing us somewhat of a delay. However, Michael Meegan was able to get a quote, unofficial quote, from a company that does exactly that, dismantle and transport. That's slightly less than $200,000. That's one of 4 components that we're waiting for. Is dismantling, putting on a truck, and then bringing it down to the Port Palm Beach. Now we need to dismantle ours. We need the cost of the bridge, and then of course we need to reassemble it. So it gets to the point where if it's close to about $1 million, I will pull it and I will not pursue it. So you have my assurance that we will not sign on the dotted line without the commissioners knowing about it first.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Avery?
Mr. Mayor, I understand that what we looking at a loading bridge in Miami, at
Yes.
Port of Miami, what happened to that?
All right, that one, Commissioner, we first heard it was no cost, just take it. Then we started to put some inquiries out, and somehow somebody down there felt that it'd be best to put it out for a bid process. And a scrap dealer, not ours, but a scrap dealer, went ahead and put a bid on that particular bridge. Help me out here, I think it was over $500,000.
Over $500,000, and then the moving of that bridge was another $800,000.
So, you can see why we just didn't pursue it.
And with, the folks with this Disney cruise, they won't give you any kind of idea how much it's gonna cost?
No, this, Michael, I think this belongs to the actual port authority, does it not?
Well, your report also couldn't that executive director give you some kind of idea how much it's gonna cost?
Well, we asked, and we're still waiting.
Okay.
We don't know. So again, I assure the board that we will not agree to it until I bring it to the board for approval.
Mr. Richards?
I move to approve J3. Item 1 through 34.
Other question, or just a statement?
All right, now it's been moved. Is there any second?
Second.
All right, second, okay.
I just clarification, that my understanding is that the cruise ship is all paid up to date, is that correct?
Baja Paradise Cruise Line?
Yes.
They are current, correct. We anticipate the last payment in beginning of February, and that would be slightly under 50,000. I think it's around 48,000, yes. So they will be current, up to date at that point.
Great, thanks.
Mr. Chair, and so on this motion, what we are only giving you the authorization to do business and to discuss the loading rates, and then after that, you would then bring it back to us once they give you a price.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
And currently, are we the only ones pursuing this loading dock?
So they told us we're the only ones, so that's good news. Unlike what happened in Miami, somebody else got involved. You know,
This bridge won't fit anywhere else except this port, from the research that I've done.
that's a good point.
We'll
And-
take
and
that into
as-
consideration in the negotiations too.
And as the port engineer mentioned, it is in very good shape. It's an FMT. Mike, would you say what, it's been there for 10 years, 15?
Purchased new by Port Canaveral in 2009.
All right,
So it's not very old at all.
right. So there'll be some modifications here, and that's where we'll have to get EC Canal involved. And let's not forget, we also have a grant for this, it's 50/50, right?
2.5 million.
Right.
Okay, so,
Let us continue to negotiate, and then by March, we'll have, February, we'll have our comments to you.
hopefully,
Commissioner
because
Henry?
developer, you came from Canal, right? So you should be able to help us out in this.
Commissioner, my apologies, we cannot understand what you're saying.
I'm saying that our person who's over development came from Canal, so you should be able to help us out in this respect. Hey, you people.
That's what told us.
Okay.
I think we actually purchased I was there when we purchased it.
Okay.
So I know the guy who maintains it as well. We
So
hired him.
hopefully you can help us out. Thank you very much.
Last but not least, are we able to get anything from our current loading docks?
As far as selling ours,
Well, just when we dismantle it, we'll form a recycling.
I don't even tell Commissioner. Most likely it'll end up in this.
Honestly, it's scrap only.
Okay, okay. All right, any additional questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, we have J4.
Commissioner, J4 is related to requested upgrades by CBP DHS on their facilities here in this building. In accordance with their lease, they have issued a written request, as is required by the lease, to have this work contracted. In the case of this project, I'm asking for approval to initiate a request for qualifications process for the contracting of the security upgrades. We're taking that step because this is not a project that I can send out on the street and have everybody look at, because it's confidential security upgrades to the facilities. So what this procedure will be is we'll issue an RFQ, and then by lease agreement, we bring those contractors that are ranked in the RFQ to CDP, and they make the decision on who they want to do the work. And then we will monitor the construction for them as required by our lease, and then we will be reimbursed 100% by CBP DHS. Little bit of an unusual process.
Move J4.
Second.
Probably move the second, Commissioner Walker.
What's the annual rent we're getting from CPD?
$490,000.
When does the lease expire? When's the lease expire?
The lease will expire in September of '22, but they have one option for 5 more years.
And we anticipate that they'll re-up?
Absolutely.
Good, thanks.
Any additional questions? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. J5.
Commissioners, this item is related to the water supply booster pump system in this building. We've had some issues with it and made some temporary repairs. We're requesting approval to go out for a request for proposal for the subsequent purchase order and work required to repair and or replace the water booster system in Marine Operations Center, this building. This system supplies water pressure to the upper floors. We don't really have a dollar amount right now, but we'll issue the RFP and we'll be bringing that to you for approval before any other action is taken. We have made temporary repairs for the operations department. Mr. Hearn has made temporary repairs and they seem to be working right now, but it's something we need to address for a long-term solution.
Make a motion to approve J5.
Okay, probably moved in second. I just have one question. We are going to try to refurbish or try to fix this, the one that existing or just for a backup.
And then we just hold our, and pray that it will continue. But it isn't a recurrent. And if you recall, a couple of weeks back, we were not having water pressure from the 6th, 5th, 4th, and I believe that was it. Second and third were okay, but we weren't getting any pressure at all. So that's what we need is.
Any additional questions? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. J6.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Second.
Give her a minute.
Good evening, Commissioners.
I'm sorry.
What was that?
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Okay, so today I'm asking you to approve a comprehensive human trafficking awareness training that's specifically designed for maritime employees. Now, the online training called Ports to Freedom, created by a nonprofit called Business Ending Slavery and Trafficking, will be available for an entire month to all port employees as well as you commissioners if you want to participate. The video-based training will help employees learn the indicators of human trafficking at seaports and what they can do if they witness a potential situation of human trafficking. Now, since January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, Executive Director Manuel Mayer and I decided it's a perfect time to support this cause. The training will show our commitment to preventing human trafficking incident here at the port, and it will also put us on the map in Florida as a leader of human trafficking awareness because we will be the first port in Florida to participate in this specific training. Now, the cost is $299. We will strongly recommend it to all our port employees, and they will receive a certificate if they participate. And in addition to that, I will be distributing a news release. I've worked with the nonprofit, and we put something together. So I'm asking you to approve this training. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Any questions?
One question. The $299 is that for the entire port?
That is for port employees and commissioners. So
Everyone.
What was that?
There's one fee.
Everyone.
Oh, one fee, yes. $299, and it's a month long from January 25th to February 25th.
Thank you.
Commissioner Richards?
Are there methods by which you will encourage employees to actually watch it? Maybe play it I guess we don't have gathering places anymore, but if we did play it in a gathering place, how will you encourage employees to actually watch the video?
Yes, so I've spoken with our Senior Director of Security and Operations, Ken Hearn, and have encouraged him to speak with the security guards and facilities teams because I think that those are the people that are going to benefit the most from this. I will make flyers and actually go out into the port, give it to them, let them know they have a whole month. You can actually stop the training so they don't have to complete it all at once. And then all my friends upstairs will hopefully participate.
Commissioner, Mr. Chair, similar to the way we had the executive session, that's what we are anticipating up in our boardroom. And it's just a handful of participants along with the monitor And then it'll take a while, but eventually we'll get it done.
Good.
Okay, can I have an official motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved.
We already, we did the motion and
It
second.
was a little fun, a little freeze, you know.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. My vote. Now we're down to J7.
That is correct. Commissioners, J7 has to do with the ability of this board to have virtual meetings. I'm just going to read the first sentence, which says, a resolution for the Board of Commissioners of Port Palm Beach providing for virtual attendance by elected officials at meetings during the COVID-19 public health emergency and suspending any requirement that an in-person physical quorum may be present to conduct business. Simply stated, we're working with our attorney who has done research. And you will see the resolution. This resolution needs to be approved so that in the future, if we proceed and have a virtual meeting, we now have for lack of a better word, a policy in place that would allow us to do so. I know that my friends on my right do a much better job in explaining it, but I'll leave it open to the board if there's any questions you may have. But this will allow us to have virtual meetings in the future if the board decides to do so.
I have one comment.
Commissioner Richards.
And Manny, I know people can't hear us speaking through this, and I know we can't hear Gene, can't hear me. Like right now, you're sitting next to a senior person who's taking precautions.
Yes.
And that concerns me. Great, so I'm just looking at, and man, you know how I am about that.
I know you are.
You're sitting right next. So this is a serious matter. I mean, Greg he's not gonna say anything. He wants to keep the contract. But we need to do a better job. Here in the offices on the 6th floor, the 5th floor, all the floors that need to do these meetings. So we need to take this very seriously. And thank you, Lenny.
Commissioner Enright.
I concur with Commissioner Richards because now things are getting worse, they're not getting better. So, and just I don't know if you've been paying attention to Palm Beach County, our numbers are going up and how many deaths we're having per day. It's worse now, so I think it would be good idea for us to do this.
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Zickman?
Yes, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news either, but I have a client of mine that's an infectious disease doctor, and I was talking to him last week, and I said, well, things starting to change? He goes, absolutely. I said, for the worse. So I was asking him, well, what should we do? So he said that, and I don't know if we do that here, N95 masks for employees that have access to N95s. I mean, I wear one underneath this mask, but I think this guy's a pretty smart guy. He's been on national TV, and so I think that we definitely need to go back to virtual. There are so many cities, boards all over the state. Some haven't even gone back to regular meetings since March. So I agree with the rest of the commission that we need to definitely pass this. And I don't have any concern. I've spoke to 2 other attorneys concerning this, and they said you have zero liability. So that's my opinion. 2 other attorneys. I know our attorney doesn't agree with that, but that's how I feel also.
Mr. Chair, first, Commissioner Enright.
I just want to piggyback on Commissioner Sickland, and I concur with her, but I also know that it's in the air. So once someone is in the building with the air and coughing and breathing for a long period of time, it can easily get into our air conditioning system. And my question to Mr. Mayor is that, do we have a company to come in to work with our ventilation system, because that's where the disease tends to live more so?
Yeah, we have a company that comes in and disinfects at night by spraying bleach and other chemicals. I'm sure Mr. Hearns will have a better explanation. Please, Hearns.
Commissioners, we have reviewed the AC system in the building. We've actually done improvements to have more outside air come in. We're also utilizing MERV 13 filters throughout the entire system to clean out the virus as best as we can. And in addition, we do have a company coming through to do disinfectant spraying throughout the building twice a week.
So we've taken as much precautions as we can, but I feel that with this resolution, it just gives us the ability to go back to virtual meetings from now until the eternity, essentially. So it's up to the board to approve it, and it's also up to the board whether the next meeting will be either here or virtual.
I have one question here, Mr. Mayor. Basically looking at from our attorney, there was some concerns with the violation of the Sunshine Law. Can you expound upon that as well?
Well, there really isn't precedent here. We're relying on, basically on common sense here. Are a lot of Attorney General's opinions that suggest that this cannot be done, but our argument is that an Attorney General's opinion is simply an opinion. There isn't any case law on this particular issue. There are cities that have adopted their own ordinances to be able to have virtual meetings without a physical quorum being present. But they have something called the Municipal Home Powers Rules Act. And the port doesn't have that because we're not a municipality. So what my suggestion is if you're going to proceed with this resolution, that periodically we have an in-person meeting, or at least with a physical quorum present, maybe two not attending, but 3 attending, to ratify and confirm actions taken at the virtual meetings.
Commissioner Walker?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this. My only concern or issue is when we did this before, we all stayed home and called in, but we told anybody from the public that wanted to participate, they had to show up here, which to me seems a little bit hypocritical or something. But so are we going to include in these virtual meetings the ability for the public to call in? Because I believe they weren't able to call in, they had to physically be here. And I think that we should allow the public to be able to call in.
Mr. Chair, we are working on a new virtual meeting type of program. I wanted to make sure that this was passed, and therefore from this point we will be working on exactly that, a platform that would allow the public to dial in. I haven't seen it. I know that some of my staff members have, and I'm quite confident that we will be able to achieve exactly your concern, be able to have an ability for the public to try and.
So the only concern I have is you're saying you're working on it. So I would only agree to this if it's implemented when you do it next time. I don't want it to be like
Sure.
3 more meetings.
Monday? We can have as early as Monday.
Okay.
So,
That's great.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Enright?
I guess I have a question. I know that the county, how it's done, you must have a quorum at your meeting, and the other commissioners can be at home or wherever they want to be. But then the board has to agree to allow the other commissioners at home to vote. There's standards how they do it in the county and how I'm told other places in the state of Florida said. The governor said, as long as you have a quorum, so with us, as long as 3 people are here, the other 2 can stay home and can be whatever you want. But then we just have to say, hey, it's okay, we agree to allow the other 2 to be able to vote while they're not present. Am I right, Mr. Pickens?
You're correct, and I did add that as item 3 in the resolution that's before you.
Okay, so really, and there's no requirement as far as the public, my understanding. I mean, the public can comment, they don't have to comment if they're here or not. It's not a requirement as far as the county and state for my understanding, because I asked and went through. So as far as people in the audience, you don't have to have a cell, as long as you have 3 individuals here. That's it.
Right, well, I think the concept would be virtual meeting. The concept would be that the public can attend the meetings.
Right, with the 3
physically.
individuals here.
I know there's some discussion. that-
Right, the public can, if the 3 individuals are here, then the public, they can attend the meeting.
Correct.
If no one is here, then we'll do everything totally virtual.
Well,
What Calvin was saying is if we do everything virtual, am I, that's understanding, how would the public be able to
What
come
I'm
and
saying
say,
is if you do everything virtually, there's a mechanism for the public to join in now.
okay, he's making, okay.
wait, what I'm suggesting, and I haven't heard what the new technology is, but my understanding in drafting this is that it would be the same kind of virtual meetings that we had under the executive order, and, you know, where there'd be a place for the public to come if it wanted to come. It would be able to see the commissioners on the screens. And then if there's some facility by which the public can call in, then if the port wanted to provide for that, the port could provide for that as well.
The only thing about calling in, you have to know who it is, because you can call in and say, I'm John Doe, and I'm Mary Reeves.
Well,
You have to like this, so that's the problem about calling in,
That's kind of-
but they don't like to allow, because you can't see the person in person, so
You
that's
would
not
not know
acceptable,
really
that's not acceptable.
You would not know who's on the other end of the line in those cases.
That's correct.
But my understanding is that we will be able to turn off the volume if this gets out of hand, so we can control the communication from the audience. And we have someone spelling some sort of negatives on anybody, we will have the ability to shut that off. So let us see it, let us implement it, and I think we're all going to be very pleased.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sickles?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve J7 resolution and have our meetings virtual until we decide otherwise, until things start to change.
With the provision that the public's able to call in too.
Yeah, well, the staff said they could do that, so I don't think that's going to be, yeah. And it's not like we have 1 million people coming in.
You never know.
That's true. That's true. You never know, but that's my motion.
Second.
Just to be on the safe side.
Okay, with this been properly moved and second, I have a question. Are you aware of any challenges to the virtual meetings?
Well, I'm not aware of any court challenges to them at this time.
Okay, and that will be an open-ended, is there any determination factor when we would start meeting in person?
On the board,
I mean, this could be, you know, for the rest of the year.
could be, but, you know, maybe.
You know, are we, because,
Well, if I may, every meeting that we have at the end, we schedule for the following month. At that point is where a decision has to be made. Do we have it virtual or do we go back to this type of format? So it's always up to the board, and it's always, you know, majority rules. I don't see any great difficulty or challenge with that. As an example, right before we end, I think it's wise if we make a decision whether we're having this type of format or are we in fact going to go ahead and have virtual.
The motion was for virtual.
I'm just trying to just make sure that we have clarification, a point of clarification as to the duration.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Enright?
so now the motion on the floor is for us to vote for a virtual meeting. And after we make that vote, then we would then, after that time, decide which meetings will be virtual or not. Am I correct?
Yes, it's
Okay.
on this resolution, and then we will decide.
Then you decide, okay.
Commissioner?
Once again, on the COVID-related matter, Ma'am, you've been very good with staff. I know at one point you had staff not going into offices.
Right.
Still do. Okay, have employees presented themselves wanting to work from home? Have you had any issues where there was a problem, or have employees presented that or have they not?
Well, at the very beginning, Commissioners, we did have a skeleton crew every other day, and I have to admit that to be a little clumsy. So as time progressed, I reversed it and I had everybody come back, and it has worked. Now, I will tell you, we did have one individual, that's Kelly Lawrence, who we're very happy, actually now we told three, that have been afflicted with this virus. None are inside the building. They're all maintenance folks, they're outside. So still, I have not seen that people will tell me we have to go back towards a skeleton crew every other day. Nothing yet.
Yeah, I'll just say I have some level of concern. Just to be honest. Obviously, the person younger, they may have less concern unless they're living with an older person in their household. But we just need to be very aware of our employees. They may want to work from home, or they may want to do back and forth. One person is an issue. 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it's a hot spot. Just I'm sure you would be a model to that. But I think we should be flexible with our employees. We need them, healthy.
To that end, Commissioner, if you recall, I had initially requested for this meeting to be postponed and be included in February. But things are able to, let's just say, ride its course, and then the chair and I decided, well, this meeting is needed, and therefore, from this point on, then the board will have to make a decision whether we have this format or a virtual format.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Enright?
I guess you can look in the audience. Because of COVID-19, very few people going to any meetings anyway. I mean, unless they have business or something that's a really crucial issue, as far as the audience, I really don't see a lot of people going to hardly any meetings, not even city meetings. But I think we should vote on this matter, and then as the meetings come up, then make a decision at that time. I don't think we can just vote on no meetings the whole year. No, that's not good business, because we don't know what's going to happen. And we might be forced not to have meetings, and then who knows? But the way it's going now, things are going to get worse. So I just think we just should vote on the motion on the floor, and then make a decision, Mr. Chairman, month by month.
I have no objection, but I'm very concerned about moving in this direction from the advisement of our attorney. Secondly, currently, how many municipalities do you know within Palm Beach County are meeting virtually outside of Palm Beach?
This is going to be from memory. Both are Palm, and I believe Boynton Beach, and I have to search my email to come up with it. I don't know how quickly I'm going to be able to do that.
So out of 39 municipalities, we're looking at probably 4 or 5.
Well, as of the last time I had information, and of course there isn't any place where they go, there's no reporting place where they go and report and say we're having virtual meetings. So it's usually word of mouth, or there'll be some attorney on the government affairs committee listserv who says, I know of 3, and another one will say, well, I know of 2 others, but it's not widespread.
Okay, and the county is definitely meeting in person, correct?
As I understand it, that's correct.
Okay, all right. Commissioner?
I just have one more question. If we decide to continue to have meetings the way we have been having them like today, and just say, for example, a commissioner cannot come, is there a way that you can still make that accommodation so that person can do it virtual?
The motion on the course for virtual anyway. Now you're switching things.
Okay, I don't want to finish. Okay, I mean,
Just
okay,
to be clear that
let's go and get it over with. Yes.
there is added a provision that if you do go back to in-person meetings for,
3 have to be here and the other
and 2
2
will be able to participate virtually. That's
Okay.
provided for you. And I will email you, I don't want to give you any wrong information on the cities that I know of, so I'm going to send you an email as to the names of those cities.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
you need to look at the state, not just the county. There are so many in the state
Not only
that
days,
are,
slowly.
that are meeting virtual. Doesn't matter if you're picking up a couple. There's numerous boards, special districts, commissions that are not meeting. So you're just saying there's a few in Palm Beach County. That's totally irrelevant. You need to look at the whole state. So that's,
Well, there's no central place to, first of all, state boards are allowed to meet, have always been allowed to meet virtually. So you're talking about a state.
no, I'm not talking about a state.
Okay,
We're talking
there's no
about
central point of registration. for that.
well, I know from these attorneys that I've spoken to, have told me that. And Richard Pinsky's a good person to speak to also.
That'd be great if Richard has that
He
information.
does.
But 90-day, communication, so.
All right.
All the questions.
Is there any additional questions or any unreadness? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 5-0. All right, do we have any comments from the public?
We do not.
I thank you, Madam Chair. All right, comments from the board, starting with Commissioner Mr. Walden. Ms. Burgess? Okay, I have nothing as well. Now we need to set the next meeting date, and we also need to clarify whether it will be in person or virtual.
I guess you already said.
We just voted on a virtual.
Yeah, as drafted, the resolution says it's going to be virtual until that's discontinued.
Until discontinued, okay. So with that being said, it's going to be virtual Thursday, February the 18th. All right. And with that being said, is there a motion to adjourn? Second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 5-0.